Over 2 years ago, I walked into a bookstore. As I searched around throughout the hundreds of books, I came upon one by the name of Into the Wild. Now, in the front cover, it showed a young man in his early 20s sitting on top of an old wore-down school bus, eating out of what appeared to be a can of baked beans. I was drawn to the book almost instantaneously. As I picked up the soft-covered book, I turned it over to read the synopsis. It spoke of a young man by the name of Christopher Johnson McCandless. Now, it went on to say that he gave all his savings to charity, abandoned his car and most of his possessions, burned all the cash in his wallet, and hitchhiked to Alaska. I remember vividly as I read the back of the book, I began to have many questions. I began to ask myself, who is Christopher McCandless? Well, we are here today to answer that same question, but with a different focus of person. Today we will answer, who is Daniel Quintana? Yes, who am I? To better analyze this question, we will break it down into three main points. The first point is self-perception. Who do I believe I am? Well, off the bat, if I had to name three of my best qualities when it pertains to human relationships, I would say generous, loving, and caring. I grew up in a house with a loving mother and father, as well as an older sister and two younger brothers, who even though at times we wanted to kill each other, were also very loving. Coming from a big family, I learned at a young age how vital it was to share. Also, my parents were always very loving and caring with all of us equally. I believe that this is what has helped cultivate my qualities of generous, loving, and caring. Other words that would help describe what I believe makes me, me, are reflective and analytical. I see myself as a deep person who doesn't see life superficially. I have a tendency to reflect and analyze the people around me, myself, and my decisions, as well as present world conditions. I believe to be a positive person, hence all the positive qualities I've mentioned thus far. But being reflective helps me realize my weaknesses as well. For example, I am definitely not always as confident as I should be. This feeling can at times prevent me from accomplishing activities at their due time, since I can tend to procrastinate as I battle with the insecurity. Now, in the studies of human relationships and communication, there is something referred to as the Johari window. The Johari window serves as a reminder that you may know some things about yourself, but you don't know everything. This brings us to our next point. Who do others believe I am? In preparing for this speech, I took the liberty to introduce several of my family members to ask them the words that they believe describe me. The first person I had a chance to interview was my mother-in-law, Michelle. Michelle stated that if she needed to select a few words to describe me, it would be analytical, honest, and spiritual. She said that she views me as someone who is very thoughtful towards others' feelings and that I have a deep love for spiritual things. When asking my wife Archie how she viewed me, she stated that I was loving, honest, and confident. She added that she made this conclusion not only from our personal relationship as husband and wife, but from observing how I treated others as well. The last person I interviewed was my mother Georgina. The words she chose were spiritual, unique, and loving. She explained that she chose these words because she believed that I loved God and did my best to please Him. She also stated that I have always been a very loving and thoughtful human being since I was a boy. As you can see, the perception I have of myself, while similar, can still be very different from other people's viewpoints. Which brings us to our last point. How does my self-perception compare to how others see me? When thinking of words that describe me, the best ones I chose were, at times, the same as the ones my families chose. I mentioned that I was loving. Both my wife and mother chose this same word. Another trait I mentioned was analytical. Out of the three words my mother-in-law chose, analytical was one of them. In contrast, however, some of my viewpoints were very different from the ones my family chose. I stated that I believed I was at times insecure, while one of my wife's perceptions was that I was confident. This is a clear indication that the way we sometimes see ourselves may not always be the complete truth. In conclusion, self-perception affects your behavior, self-image, and ultimately your view of life. It is important to note that life has many variables, and sometimes we face situations that we did not expect. And in those unexpected situations, we may display a part of our personality that was hidden to others or maybe even to ourselves. The question, however, still remains, who is Daniel Quintana? I guess the best way I can answer that is to say I'm 22 years old and still in the process of figuring it out. Thank you.